welcome or welcome back to our channel. I am your host Star and I'm a self-taught artist. I hope you all are doing well. So today's topic is talking about the effects of comparing art and a lack of social media presence on your own account, how that can lead to a negative viewpoint of your art and your journey. So I hope that makes sense, and let's begin. So as an artist myself, I of course have compared my art to people that I follow across all of my social media accounts. Trained artists will always tell you to find other artists to take inspiration from to build your own art style. That is something I was never taught or told, so I didn't do that when I first started doing art. But once I started to hear about other people doing this to build their own art style, I started to shift how I saw my art. Before, I focused on colors being used, composition, and storytelling when I looked at an artist's art. Afterwards, I started to focus on how they specifically drew something, like folding clothes, noses, how they render, or how they could create something so beautiful in a timely manner when it takes me days to even finish something. Once I started to analyze to see what I could pull from other artists, at least for me, I stopped appreciating the actual art. I started to complain how I couldn't shade the hair the same way, even though it was so simple. It got to a point where I kept seeing my style shift. It might not look like it, but it just felt extremely different to me, and the drawing process just wasn't the same. Instead of learning new things and trying it out and then my style shifting progressively, I was speeding through the process to get results faster. Doing something like that made me hate my art even more, to the point where I went from drawing multiple times a week to drawing only once a week to drawing once every 2 weeks or a month. Obviously, school played a factor in the decrease with me drawing, but really not by much, since I actually like to draw and I draw all the time, even when I'm in school. The constant analyzing art for techniques and future art styles affected me negatively in the long run. Now, this is all subjective and everyone's experience is different, but I no longer follow artists to replicate or take pieces of their art style to build my own or to change my art style. I got back to appreciating the art and storytelling that the artist created. It's hard sometimes though, if we're being honest, and I do catch myself comparing a lot. It's a habit that I don't think will ever really change, but I try to not let my overanalyzing negatively affect me. Now, moving on to the social media aspect of making me hate my own art. This goes hand in hand with comparing with other artists as well. Seeing people around your age group, either your exact age, some years younger, or some years older, with similar or even complete different art styles boost in followings and create an engaging following when you haven't is extremely frustrating. On social media, I have 70 plus followers in my main art account on Instagram, and I think around 20 in my sketching/work in progress account. Though the sketching account is new since I made it this year, with my main account, I have been posting, I believe, for 2 years, but I'll correct myself during the editing stage if I mistake that number. And within those 2 years, on my main account, I have just reached the amount of followers I have with absolutely no engagement. By engagement, I mean the likes to follow ratio and literally no comments unless you count the comments by people who collab with you, which they're kind of like obligated to comment, or the DM me pics comments. I feel like I've done everything under the sun to help solve this lack of engagement problem. Post consistently so the algorithm can notice me and use the appropriate hashtags, or even some that have nothing to do with my art, just hoping that it would gain some type of attraction. But literally nothing happened. And let me be honest with you all, I feel like a lot of artists have this toxic trait, or I don't know, artist urge to yell how much better they are than some other types of artists, especially artists who are newer than them, or instantly get a following off the bat. And starting out, I was the exact same. I cannot fathom how my art was overlooked and others were thriving. I know my art is simple and not any type of elaborate piece, but so are many other artists. So I kept asking, what the hell was I doing wrong? Till I realized that getting upset about that, believing my art sucked, or decreasing or stopping the amount of art I actually make isn't going to change that. Just because I internally complain doesn't mean I'll gain a following overnight. Looking at mutual artists' numbers like followings, likes, or comments isn't going to help me. Wishing that the algorithm on any social media platform that I'm on gave me a chance to prove myself isn't going to change that. So I had to change my mindset. I had to look over my art to see if my art really is that bad, or see if I'm lacking something that I can improve, or is it just me over complaining about others' art and social media. Then I thought, what could I change about my art or my mental work habit to stop me from overthinking? So here is what I found helped out me. 1, figuring out what I wanted to do with my art, what I wanted to change. For me, I decided as a Black woman, I wasn't drawing enough or any Black art at all. And not saying this is a mandatory thing as a Black artist or any other artist, but in my writing, such stories I make, I am heavy in representation and diversity, but my art did not reflect that. Since I've drawn more Black characters, I've had so much more fun just drawing in general. 2, I created a second Instagram account recently where I can post more art on a consistent basis without ruining any presentation on my main account. Even on the second account, I have gotten more freedom on not posting complete artwork. 3, I stopped caring about numbers. I post art on Instagram, Twitter, Artful, Bubble House, TikTok, and on YouTube. Besides sometimes Bubble House, where I do get comments, which it's rare, I don't get comments under my art at all on any social media. But there are rare times that I actually do. And my likes across all social media is probably between 0 to 15 average. Sometimes I hit the 20s, but really not much. Yet, I still continue to create art and post because it's fun. I still create art videos on here, and now I'm sort of shifting to talking about more art-related commentary stuff to help other artists or to bring insight into my own art habits and process. Though I won't prioritize commentary stuff over actually making art-related videos because that's what I like to do more, at least for now. Even on our second channel, which is a commentary review channel, even with so little views on certain videos, I don't stop making videos because that is what I love to do. Switching my viewpoint to remind me why I started to draw in the first place or why I started to do something specifically in the first place lets me continue to draw or do that specific thing, and I don't stop unless I have like art block or any other type of art block depending on what your niche is. Which sucks really because I hate art block, and I feel like ever since the year started, I've had art block a lot more than I usually do. So that's a little weird. Lastly, 4, change it up. Whether that's changing what you draw, like going from a stylized style to more of a realistic one or vice versa, or drawing only profiles to going to full bodies, or adding backgrounds, or focusing on character design or learning environments. Stepping out of your comfort zone and experimenting can unlock new passions for you, or the trial and error that happens when you do can help you know what you like to draw or don't like to draw to help you find your niche. For me, I experimented with painting, which I love, but I know I need improvement and more lessons to understand how to convey it properly. Like I said, I drew more Black art, so I love that absolutely. I even drew in my sketchbook, whether that's traditional or the digital sketchbook that I have, and practice basic things and how to render to help me further develop. So yeah, I felt my art wasn't good enough because of the comparing and because of my social media numbers. Once I stopped caring about all of that, which honestly took me some time, over a year to do that, I was able to have a different outlook. I won't lie that it gets easier or that I sometimes go back to a negative mindset because it happens and that is just how my brain works. But if I don't let it take over me, then I think it's completely fine. And one last thing to say before this video ends. If an artist is not bringing you inspiration or you find yourself in a negative mind space because you hate your art, then you don't have to look at that particular artist's work. No one will, or honestly no one should, fault you for unfollowing, not because that person's a bad artist, but because you keep comparing to the point that you hate your own work and want to quit. Everyone grows on their own pace, and that's valid. No one should tell you otherwise. And second last thing before this video ends, I'm saying this from a perspective as someone who has done art and has followed all these art tips way after they've been drawing for like a year. As someone who is a beginner, I absolutely will agree to pick a bunch of inspirations to develop your own art style. But as someone who already had an art style and did that exact technique and actually changed how they drew to the point where, I felt bad about myself in my art, it just did not work for me. But as someone who's starting out, I don't see why that would be a problem. But that's just me. I don't have that perspective as a beginner artist who used that technique. I have it as a person, like an intermediate artist who has used that technique, and it just didn't work out for me. If that makes any sense, I just wanted to clarify that. Not saying that beginner artists can't do that. Also not saying intermediate or advanced artists can't do the same way. I'm just expressing my feelings on it or my experience on it. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you ever hated your art or your art style and how you overcame that. Also introduce yourselves in the comments if you have an Insta or Twitter at yourself so I can absolutely follow. I'm trying to find more POC artists to follow. You don't have to be a POC, obviously. Introduce yourself regardless and tell me the type of art you do, fan art, original art, etc., etc. I want to find more meaningful artists with small followings to follow as opposed to following big artists because they don't bring me as much inspiration anymore, as opposed to following a smaller artist who's more around my area, and I get a lot more inspiration because I'm seeing them grow in real time, if that makes any sense. So if you want to know about me or follow me, my links will be down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching once again. Talk to you guys later. Have a good day, and Jen and I will see you in the next one. Peace.